Hey everyone, I'm back to talk about Uganda in transition. Okay, so today I want to talk about the number 40. Okay, I think in the last video, which was the intro video, I did allude to the fact that Uganda was coming on 40 years of leadership under the same president, under the same government. So I want to talk about the number 40. What does the number 40 mean? Of course, you can go ahead and Google that and do your own research. Doing my own research, I came up on the fact that, of course, there's always studies going on as to different aspects of the Bible, as to anything really. But there's definitely studies still going on, just so we know. But from what is out there and from my personal revelation on the number 40, number 40 means judgment. The number 40 means testing. And from my own perspective and revelation, I believe it also means a change in government. When I think of the number 40, and there's so many aspects of the number 40 to the Bible, but when I think about the number 40, I think about the children of Israel in the wilderness for 40 years. Okay, that's just the picture that initially comes up. And then, of course, I think about other stories where it was 40 days, 40 nights, and that type of thing. But in this case, for purposes of Uganda and specifically this time and this series of videos pertaining to Uganda in transition, the first picture that came to my mind was the children of Israel in the wilderness. Okay, so an 11-day journey took them 40 years. Okay, so I want you to sort of flow with that revelation, and I'm hoping that the Holy Spirit himself will also enlighten your eyes of understanding so that you draw more out of this video and this revelation, even more than I'm presenting. Okay, so the number 40 means judgment, it means testing, but again, and that's from research, my own research, but from my own revelation, it means a change of government, and here's why. When the children of Israel out of the wilderness came up on 40 years, it makes sense when they say that the number 40 is a time of testing, because they did come up into a time of testing with the Lord. In other words, after 40 years, the Lord was like, nope, you cannot go any farther. I have to choose another generation to go into the promised land. Okay? And they had 40 years to really get to know who God was. God did everything from sending them manna to sending them fish to sending them water, all manner of sustenance in the desert and in the wilderness. Okay? Despite everything that he did, they did not come into relationship with him. They did not come into a space of intimacy with him. Okay? And we realize and we understand that to get into the promised land, if you know anything about the book of Joshua and onward, we know that you need to have a place of intimacy with the Lord. You cannot conquer giants, you cannot defeat giants, you have no occupancy in the promised land unless you have a relationship and then a place of intimacy with the Holy Spirit, with the Lord. Okay, because you'll get eaten up in the promised land. That's why the Lord, even in his mercy, would not allow them to cross over into the promised land. He knew they would get eaten up in the promised land by the giants, the Canaanites, and all of the ites in the promised land. So really also look at it from the lens not just of judgment, but also God's mercy. God knew, in as much as this is my promise to them, I cannot allow them to cross over because they're going to get hounded by these giants. In fact, prior to that, in the book of Numbers, chapter 13, he tests them. He asks the 12 spies to go into Canaan and see what's going on there. Okay, and when they come back, they're like, there's all manner of giants in there. You know, all you want to do is kill us, you know, by sending us into that promised land. Hence, he would not allow them to cross over. They were not ready. They refused to be ready, except for Joshua and Caleb. Okay, so again, Uganda is coming up on 40 years under the same government. And because Uganda is coming up on 40 years, there is an expectation from heaven. What have you delivered? What have you done as a government, as an institution, regarding God's inheritance over the people? How have you managed it? How have you allowed the people to enjoy their inheritance or not to enjoy their inheritance, okay? When I say inheritance, I mean every single nation has a promise and an inheritance from God, a blessing from the Lord. And it's up to us, it's up to the government, it's up to leadership to understand, you know, what is our unique inheritance as Ugandans? What is the unique inheritance that heaven has given us to steward over the people? That's on the leadership, okay? And so now that we're coming up on 40 years, the Lord and heaven has an expectation of how have you delivered God's inheritance to his people, okay? Number one, have you delivered it? Number two, how have you delivered it? If there are no results, then there's going to be a change of government, okay? So as we know, because there were no results from the Israelites crossing over into the promised land after 40 years, the Lord, not just in his judgment, but in his mercy, would not let them cross over. They would have been hounded and eaten by giants, literally. So he picks Joshua and a new generation, okay, to cross over into the promised land. Because, of course, they were a new generation, meaning they had a new mindset. They had everything that was different and new compared to the old generation, or compared to their parents, if you will, okay? So the Lord allowed new minds and a new generation and a new wineskin, if you will, to cross over into the promised land, so that then they would be able to steward the new wine that he was pouring into Israel as a nation, okay? So I wanted to mention that, and I may come up with a second video on what 40 years means for us as a nation, okay? Again, remember, in regard to specifically Uganda as a nation, from research, it means judgment, it means a time of testing. And then from my own revelation, my own understanding, just from my own study of the book of Exodus, the book of Joshua, transitioning from a season of the wilderness to a season of the promise, it means a change of government as well, especially if the past government has not delivered, because God has an expectation when you come upon 40 years of what you have done with his inheritance. So if there is no delivery, if there is no substantial delivery, there is a change of government, okay? So take that to the Holy Spirit, allow him to break it down for you. I may come up with another video to follow this up, but I just thought you might want to know what to expect regarding the number 40, what that means for you individually, what that means for the government, what that means for us as a nation. Again, we're in transition, so the Lord will be revealing a lot as far as what to expect, as far as what to sit down with him and ask the Holy Spirit questions. Okay, so when I present these videos to you, my expectation is that you go back to the Holy Spirit, allow him to break it down for you, allow him to help you understand at your level, okay? And then we'll keep going from there, but understand that we're certainly in a season of transition, okay? Until the next video, thanks for watching.